Hey everybody, it's Matt the Garden Guy. Thank you for joining me on my first episode of In the Garden with Matt the Garden Guy. So on this episode, I'm going to be going over planting my corn. I'm going to be going over some basic fruit tree health, as well as some Q&A at the end. Also, if you're watching this live stream right now, please click that share button. It means a lot to me, and we can help other people grow their own food. So I'm going to be using this garden bed for my corn. As you can see, I've already prepped the garden bed. I've tilled it out. I've put the fencing around, and I've added some compost. I've also sprayed it with some nematodes. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Hey everybody, Matt the Garden Guy here. So I'm just mixing some of my nematodes. So sorry about the wind, but right now what I'm doing is I'm treating this new bed that I had just tilled out today. When I was tilling it, I found a lot of grubworms in there. Also, my grass here looks like this deadish looking color. It's because of the grubworms underneath eating a lot of the roots. So go ahead and get a watering can. I use a 2-gallon watering can. I put nematodes in here according to the bag. Put the nematodes in, which I did, and then go ahead and grab your nozzle and just spray them in. Doing that with the spray, it's a good way to mix them up, because on it says as you add them and you put them in, you're supposed to stir them up pretty good. Spraying them in does it really good as well. So after we put the nematodes in our watering can, we're going to let them sit for about 20 minutes, and then we're going to stir them up again. At that point, I'm going to use a wooden stick and just put it in there and spray it up. As we wait for the nematodes to be ready, we eat. So after your nematodes have been mixed again, you go ahead and apply it where you need it. There you go, super simple. This is a great way for pest control. You apply these nematodes, they go ahead and eat the bugs in the ground, and that's it. Hey, so when planting your corn, your spacing needs to be 9 inches apart from each corn, in rows of 2 to 3 feet from each other. And then you want to make sure you plant it in a box. You want to have about 4 rows minimum of corn. You don't want one very long row of corn. I'll tell you why at the end of me planting the corn, why you need that block of corn. So go ahead and get your spacing. I have 4 rows. I staked them out with some wood, and then I'm going to go ahead and grab my hoe and make a trench down to put the corn in. All right, so here we are in the garden, and I'm planting the corn. So I had my rows that I did with my hoe. I got the little spade shovel here, and I'm just gonna dig a little bit of hole, put my already pre-grown corn, and I'm gonna drop it right in there and fill it up. Now, you don't have to pre-grow your corn. You can start it right from seed. Same concept. But when you put your seed, you only want to bury it about 1 inch deep and just cover it with a little bit of dirt. So now I'm gonna finish doing this row and do this other row, and we'll see how it looks. Yeah, this spade shovel was really handy to start digging in there to get that hole a little bit bigger. I got him in the trays here. I'm just gonna go ahead and pop them out. Try to retain as much of those roots as possible. Yeah, what she said. No touching, please. what I'm doing when I'm planting these, I'm going off the last one so they're all gonna stay in the same exact row. And then basically the hole that I make with this little pick shovel is I'm just gonna be backfilling that with the dirt that I did when I made that trench with the hoe. So yeah, it's super easy. I really like to pre-grow the corn because then I know exactly where it's going to go. It also gives it a nice head start for the growing season. So now I'll show you what it looks like. So now you can see our 4 rows of corn are planted in that box shape. And the reason for this is for when the corn grows up, it's gonna have the seeds that come out, and they're gonna need to pollinate each other by blowing into each of them. It's also gonna help make sure that they stay upright when there's a big wind, they can kind of lean on each other. So one thing I also do after I plant stuff is I step next to them and kind of push the ground down, kind of compact it a little bit. Obviously try not to step on the plant. If you do, hopefully you have more to just replace it. So after we plant our corn, we need to give it a really good soak. Yep. You trying to grow another toy? So I'll grab our hose and just spray your corn. And you wanna soak this as much as you can the first time, and probably the next few nights after. You wanna go ahead and soak it as best as you can. You really wanna get those roots to start establishing so they can start growing deep to hold the plant up. All right, so that's how I grow my corn. Pretty simple. I like to grow it, again, ahead of time, just so I know where the corn's gonna be. And I know that it's gonna germinate and it's gonna be up. So now, let me go talk to you about some fruit tree care. So I'm not gonna lie, fruit trees are a lot of maintenance, but the reward is awesome. All right, everybody, so let's talk about some basic fruit tree care. So what you want to do when you get your fruit trees is you want to put some type of fencing around it. We don't want to put something exactly around the actual tree stump, because you're going to lock in all that moisture against the bark, which is going to start to rot it out, deteriorate it, and you're going to get a lot of small bugs in there and start eating the tree. So I recommend using this fence. Also, we do not want to put mulch around it. Just put regular grass. That's a good way to keep the roots from not rotting out as well. So underneath my awesome cherry tree here. So I don't have that fence here yet. What I did here though is I used this corrugated plastic tubing for drainage. It's not fully against it, and there's enough room that air and water can still come in. Ideally though, I'm going to replace this and use the fencing. But if you don't have the fencing and all you have is this plastic tubing, use this, because this will prevent critters like ground squirrels, prairie dogs, rabbits from eating the bark and killing your tree, which would happen over to my pear tree. So this is a reason why you want to cover or put protection around your tree bark. About 3 or 4 years ago, I had a rabbit destroy the tree. It's kind of hard to see in here. But this year when we were pruning this peach tree, we found that it had a really bad infection. I'm trying to fix it. I've been using some fungus spray. I don't know if it's gonna make it, but this is why we need to make sure our trees are protected by something. Make sure though we don't use that full wrap, because we're gonna do more damage than what it's good for. Remember, if we put that wrap around it, it's gonna hold too much moisture. You're gonna get too many bugs and insects in there that can just destroy the tree as well. What we also want to do every year, in about probably mid-March, is we want to prune our trees. So you can see here, this is evidence from my pruning I did. So pruning is all about how do you want the fruit tree to look a few years from now. It's going to help produce the fruit. So if your tree is a huge tree, all of its power, all of its nutrients are going to make the tree grow. We don't want that on fruit trees. We want the fruit. We're not growing a regular tree. So pruning it will help divert all the nutrients to growing new vegetation and new fruit for it. And then in spring, you'll get some awesome fruit growing. So here's is a cherry. And then over here we have some pears. So you can see the pears are coming. One of the last things I'm going to talk about for fruit tree care is we do need to fertilize it. So the best thing to do is to grab some of your fertilizer from your compost bin and drop it around the base of your fruit tree. And then water it in and just let nature, just normal life cycle, take care. Breaks down, goes into the ground, and then it will feed your tree. So I hope you have success with your fruit trees. Hope you learned something on here. So now let's go do some tips, my Q&A, and hopefully those help you out as well. Alrighty, so this part of the episode, I'm going to be taking your Q&A, your questions, and I'm going to give you answers. If you want to submit a question, send me a message on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Matt the Garden Guy. Okay, so the first question that I got was, I've planted beans 2 years in a row and they've never popped up. Well, that can be due to several different reasons. And I bet the number one reason why is because of the soil. I didn't see a picture of this person's soil or what it looks like, but my neighbor tried to grow beans last year, and he used dirt that had a lot of mulch in it, and it it never sprouted up. So my bet is that it's going to be your soil. So whenever you're having issues with anything not growing, we want to go check our soil. Go check out my video, Basics of Soil. It'll probably help you out get your soil in control. Beans also are pretty picky to grow, so I always start my beans inside, underneath my growing lights. Then I know they're gonna come up, and I just transplant them right outside into the ground. Beans too, the seeds will actually rot if there's too much moisture. So again, it all comes down to the soil. How's the soil? How's the moisture? Is there a lot of water buildup around it? But those bean seeds, if they get too much moisture, too wet, they'll actually rot away and they'll never sprout at all. So another question I had is, hey, why are my cold crops bolting and it's not even hot outside? Well, I actually just created a blog post on this. You can go check it out, mattthegardenguy.com/blogs. But basically what it comes down to is when your cold crops are bolting right now, so right now it's mid-May, and we did have a flux of our weather where it got super cold at night for a couple days. That is most likely why your cold crops, in this case cabbages, are bolting. Typically the main reason why stuff will bolt is because it gets too hot or there's way too much moisture. But yeah, if you want to know more about what is bolting and more information on this particular reason why it bolted, go check out my blog again, mattthegardenguy.com/blogs, and you'll see why is my cold weather crops bolting and it's not even hot outside. Hey, if you want to submit your questions, go ahead and shoot me a message on Instagram or Facebook, Matt the Garden Guy, and maybe I will be answering your question on my next episode.
Peekaboo.
Peekaboo?
Peekaboo.
Ah!